Welcome everyone to Learn from the Masters Music Outreach. My name is Billy McLaughlin and we are presenting a piece of mine called Hold On to Forever. And we're presenting a lot more today than just the actual notes of this piece, because my style of playing, as a lot of you can tell, is maybe a little bit different than you've ever experienced in your life, or it's something maybe you've never even tried before, or maybe never seen anyone play with two hands on the fretboard. And there's a lot of information on my career and why this is the most important way for me to play, and I want to share all my secrets. I want to give all my secrets away to you today as we walk through this piece together. One of the interesting things about this piece that we'll have to dive into right now, and it's true of a lot of my songs, I want to mention an important component of my playing, which involves tuning the guitar in a non-standard way. If you're a guitarist who's only ever tuned your guitar E, A, D, G, B, E, which you know what that stands for, right? E, A, D, G, B, E, Ed, 8, dynamite, goodbye, Ed. You know that, right? Well, if you didn't know that, it's my favorite way to refer to it anyhow. So we're going to get away from E, A, D, G, B, E, and the tuning that I'm using on this piece is pretty crazy, but it's used on several other pieces. So let's look at an alternative tuning. And what I've done on my guitar is I've taken my low string and dropped it down to D, and you can tune up to that right now. I'm going to go through these right now. I'm tuned to D on my lowest string, from E down to D. One more time. I'm going to leave my A string alone. Let's hear that A. One more time. And I'm going to do it one more for you to lock in. Let's get our A together. A440. Now let's go to the next string is my D string, and I left that alone as well. So right now I just have D, A, D across the bottom. That's not too strange. A lot of people have drop D stuff, like Stephen Stills, other players. Now is where it gets a little bit strange, is I took my G string and I dropped it down to E. There's the E. I didn't go up, I went down to E. One more time, E, for you to tune to. And my second string is B. It's like you would leave it. Just leave your B string alone. B, there it is. One more time. Let's lock in. Now here it gets crazy. You're going to have to take your E string and go lower in pitch than that B. And that note that I want you to get to is an A. I'm going to hit that A again. Take it. You're going to go a long way, you guys and gals. Take that E all the way down until you hear, play it a couple more times. And one more. Your string is pretty loose by now, I have a feeling. And mine would be too, but I play enough songs in this tuning that if I'm gonna be on tour and play a lot of my songs in this tuning, I'm gonna leave an extra heavy string where the first string was. And typically I put another B string where that pitch, which is A. Let's review the notes that we just went through, by the way. Let's go again. D, A, D, E, B, B, and then A. So DADEBA, D, A, D, B, E. E, B, A, DADEBA is the tuning for this piece. And it's the tuning for a lot of the pieces that people pay attention to that I've worked on and played and composed over the years. So that's a little tutorial on the tuning that's going to come in handy for people that work on songs like Tap Daddy or Helm's Place or Breaking of the Shells or any number of my pieces. So that's the tuning that we're in now for Hold On to Forever. So how do we dive into this style of playing? And again, if this is pretty weird for you, if you've never spent time doing this, I feel like I'm talking to a range of players. One of the things that's going to help you, number one, is your posture and trying to get your guitar away from hanging down real low like this. The way I make that happen when I'm standing is I use a strap that helps me keep the neck up, more in like a classical position. I'm sitting down right now and I'm still using a strap. So if you've got strap buttons, I would recommend that you get your strap out and try to get your neck up a little bit so we can talk about some of the benefits that you're going to get just from learning one of my tunes. We're going to talk about things that are going to influence your playing over a broad spectrum of time. And one of those things is obviously trying to get yourself to a place where you can access the fretboard effectively. Now, you know I'm not using traditional technique, and we'll get into talking about that, but once you've got yourself positioned in this tuning and you've got your neck up to a point, here's one thing I want to talk about to you guys that are electric players, you guys and gals that play electric guitar and like to have your thumb up over the back of the neck. On this style of playing, it's not going to work, and we're going to take a look in a minute or two. We're going to take a look at why it's a bad idea for you to try to keep your thumb up. But I want to get into the music here, and I want to even just start with the very first note in this piece. And that note is played with your index finger. And the index finger is going to be on your first string in the second space, okay? And I want you to just do this. I want you to try to drop your thumb down a little bit and come at it with a hammer on, a nice, strong, powerful hammer on. That's not way back in the fret zone here, but up towards the second fret. Don't be back by the first or it's going to sizzle. You want a nice warm tone. And I'm just going to, with my thumb down in the back, touching the neck of the guitar right behind the second fret, I'm going to go ahead and play a hammer on. Now let's listen how long that note can last. It's still going. That's important. And the other thing I want you to do is when you hit that note, let it ring for a second and see if you can add a little bit of vibrato to it. Something a piano player cannot do. You'll love doing this. It'll make all the piano players jealous. So I'm hitting that note, and here's the first four notes that I want to work on together. It's index finger at the second, sliding up to the fourth fret. Let's do that together. Again, index middle, index finger at the second fret, sliding up to the fourth fret. One more time. And that's followed by the middle finger playing at the fifth fret. So I'm going to do the first three notes, the fifth fret on the second string. So it's first string, index, slide, second finger in the fifth fret. Followed by the index finger coming back over and catching the note on the third string. So it's going to go index, slide, second finger. That's an interesting melody. And it doesn't happen alone. It happens with a bass note underneath it. You're going to strike that first note, and with your right hand, I know I'm playing backwards. You're going to like working with me because I bet my guitar is facing the same way yours is on the television screen because I'm playing lefty. But what you're going to do is you're going to use your index finger and you're going to plant your thumb down. And now we can take a look at that rear camera for a second and see that if you take your thumb and drop it down for that melody note, you've got room now for your bass note hand, which is going to be your right hand for most of you, and for each hand to travel like on a two-way street. If you've got your thumb up over there to play your melody notes, your bass hand is never going to be, you're going to crash, basically. So let's take a look at this again, and I'm going to explain now. So I want you to go to the 7th fret, and I want you to get your thumb down behind the 7th fret in a very similar fashion. You can just use your index finger, and I'm going to hit the lowest two strings. And I'm not going to hit them with the real center part of my index finger. I'm actually choosing to kind of use the side of my index. It feels more comfortable, and it's a little bonier there. It's not as fleshy, so you can really get these notes to ring. Can we do that together? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice that the melody note is anticipated on the and a 4 in the measure. It's going to sound like this. There's one other thing, important thing I want to point out about what's going on in the melody hand right now is none of these notes are ringing over the top of each other yet. They're going to later. But these are all finger exchanges. So when you go to another finger, you're going to release the note played by the previous finger. So listen to it again. So that's much like a flute would play a melody. It's a single note instrument. This is very vocal. It's very violin-like or flute-like or trumpet-like. And I like to keep adding a little bit of vibrato. Okay, how we doing? You staying with me? Now the bass note's going to move and the index finger melody is going to repeat itself. So that's kind of cool. You're going to move one hand but not the other. And we're going to get to that point where the bass note is going to move to the same fret at the 4th fret and play together, but that is a little dissonant, so we're going to want to resolve. And I'm going to release my finger and open that string up. I don't think we need to go much further than that. Let's start it again. Pretty cool. I like the way that sounds. I hope you do. Now the next bass note is an open string, and the way we get that open string to sound, so we're just going to do a little pull-off, not real hard. Okay? It's just going to be releasing the note at the 4th fret. So we've gotten to and the melody remains on the 3rd string, and it's going to go first finger, and you're going to slide your 3rd finger up. And we finally got the pinky in there. So the bass note moved again from that open string, which was a pull-off, to the hammer-on of the bass notes at the 2nd fret in the bass. I'm going to take it back. One more time together, everyone. What's cool is you've already learned half of the next phrase, because the next phrase starts off, that's familiar, right? Index to 2nd, and now your 2nd string is going to, 2nd finger is going to slide all the way from that 5th fret to the 10th. And you're looking for that note. And when your bass note moves, we're going to go back to that same bass note at the 4th fret, so that should feel familiar to you. In fact, if you really look at this bass line, everyone, for the predominant part of the tune, it's going to be, as we work through these phrases, why must I be a teenager in love? Yeah, you know that one. 2nd phrase, watch, here we go. All the way to the 10th, and when you move to the 4th fret for that next bass note, restrike the 10th fret. So when I release from that 4th fret and get that open bass note, I'm going to strike my index, and I'm using index quite a lot in this piece, as you can tell. There's so much power behind that index finger. We want to get all our fingers strong, but this is a great way to lead off as a first tapping piece that you might have ever worked on. So that's a 5, 3, 2 open on the 2nd string. And And repeat it now, but add the bass note. And the whole intro starts over again. There's a full repeat. We just went through this. All on the second string, 5, 3, 2, open. Now we're going to put a little color note in this. So we're going to get out of the actual A major key, and we're going to play a little C natural to B. We've got the bass note from the 5 chord ringing there as an E at the 2nd fret, and we're going to go. So it's just a half step slide. That's open first string to 2 open on the 3rd. Same thing now with a different bass note at the 4th fret. Open bass note. Now here's where it's going to get interesting, and here's where, for the first time in this piece, I'm kind of unlocking some of the things that happened within my own growth as a composer and trying to use this technique, where now instead of hitting just one melody note at a time per finger, I'm actually going to be doing what I call like delayed pull-off, hammer-on pull-offs. And what I mean by that is there's going to be, instead of it being a hammer-on to pull-off, what we're going to get on multiple strings now in this little passage, which is a lot of fun to play because it starts to have a cascade effect to it. But the way we get it is you're going to have index at the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, and you're going to play your 2nd finger at the 4th fret on the 1st string, and that's a real dissonant sound, isn't it? Because that's a D natural dropping to a C sharp, but if you hold them together and then do your pull-offs. So it's going to be, instead of being hammer, pull-off, like I used to do when I was young, starting off with this, I started to realize, man, if you could do like a hammer on one string, hammer on the next, and then pull-off, pull-off. Thinking about dynamics here too, everybody. Dynamics are so cool. Louder, quieter, quieter, louder. So basically what we've done right up to there is to get us to the point where the tune really kind of restarts. That's really the intro section of this tune. And the neat thing about we're going to find out is within this next section, there's a lot of repetition, especially in the melody hand. Because what I'm trying to have fun with this tune is to try to do something that keeps your ear hooked, but reshape the harmony behind that melody passage. So I want to look at what the melody passage is before we talk about the bass notes. And it's repetitive, you guys. The cool thing is if you can get through this little bit with me right now, you're going to know the bulk of the rest of the tune, okay? And the pattern goes like this. I'm going to break it down for you. It's index on the 1st string, 4th fret, followed by 2nd finger on the 3rd string. I mean, if your index finger is at the 4th fret, where's your 2nd finger want to go? It's going to want to go 1 fret up, but it's going to jump a string over to the 3rd string. So 4th fret, 1st finger, 1st string. Now, what's happened is the first notes are what we talked about as being finger exchange, where when I play the 2nd note, I don't keep the 1st finger down, I don't do a pull off, it's just, see that? It's an exchange of fingers, index to 2nd finger. No extra note ringing at all in this situation. We'll do that when we want it, but in this situation, let's keep it clean. And so when the second finger plays that note, you're going to just release to the open E. Can you do that with me? Let's get set. 4th fret, index finger. Pretty cool. I like it. We're spelling out the harmony around an A chord here. What happens next is the second finger is going to take on another note on the second string. And what I want to try to have happen in your playing is, if you can be real precise about this, the open string that you just let go of on the 3rd string is going to keep ringing. Hear that? If you miss it a couple times, it's not going to kill the piece necessarily, but the intention is for that open string to kind of keep feeding the support of the melody can be held together if you can let that E string keep ringing. And it used to be a G string, but it's your E string now. So the pattern in the right hand is, I'm going to keep going with it. And that's going to be followed by going back to the 1st string with your 3rd finger. So there's no pull off of your 2nd finger on the 2nd string. You're going to finger exchange there too. And then your 3rd finger now is going to pull off, but not to your 2nd finger. It's out of the way. It just released on that 2nd string. So let's pull off to our 1st finger. And that's the only weird thing about this pattern that might seem a little odd. You've got your 3rd finger. You really needed your 2nd finger for the previous note. And you can't hop your finger over quick enough. So you have to use your 3rd finger if you're going to get this thing to flow. And the next note is a pull off to the 1st finger where you started. You started the whole pattern at the 4th fret with your 1st finger. We're going to go right back there. And the 1st finger did do a pull off there to get it ready to go to the next pattern, right? But the very first one, there's no pull off. You're just going to start. Do it with me. If you can get that pattern going, you're so far into this piece, you guys. We're cruising through this piece now. We're going to go back to that bass line that we started. This thing. And we're going to go. One more time. Try to do it without watching your hands. Don't look at your hands, you guys. You know, actually look at your hands right now. Can you even see your melody note fingers anyhow now that the bass note came in? No, because your other arm is blocking it. You can't, I mean, if you did this, maybe you could see them. But that's why I loved it. One of the other kind of secret things, or one of the things I love to get my students doing, is to really trust yourself where you are on the fretboard. And this is a good song for that. You don't need to be watching your hands. In fact, you're at a pretty stable spot right here. You're not moving. So why look at them? Don't look at your fingers. Hear the music. Now here we go. So that bass note's familiar, and the beginning of the phrase is familiar. It's 4, 5, 0, and we're going to skip the 2nd string in here. And each number that I give you is going to be 1st string to 3rd string. And the pattern is 4, 5, 0, 5, 7, 0, 7, 9, 0, 9, 10, 0, 11, 12, 0, and that sounds like this when I'm not trying to think numbers. Don't think numbers. You can find this and just think the pattern as it goes up. Now, the pattern and the exact pattern of notes that you just played at the 4th fret are going to repeat themselves now that you're up at the 11th fret. And the bass notes are going to be the same. So we've just walked up. I don't even think the numbers of the frets anymore. I'm just hearing the notes, you guys. Did I tell you you already know this pattern from down at the 4th fret? Let's play it again. It's the same fingers in the same order, same bass notes, and walk it back down. All right. You know what? You just, in a short amount of time, with learning that pattern in the right hand and moving it up, walking it up the sequence of notes up to the 11th fret, you've really captured the bulk of this tune except for the bridge. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what happens now that we walk down. We've got our bass note at the 2nd fret. The bridge is going to go to the 4 chord, which is the open bass note on the lowest strings. And it's a really interesting pattern because one of the other things that piano players can't do that guitar players should take advantage of, especially in a tuning like this, where we have tight intervals, I'm going to play a little trick on your ear. And I'm going to repeat the melody note several times within a short passage. But I'm going to keep changing which string I'm on. And I want you to really hear this pattern. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the index finger on the 5th fret on the 2nd string. Are you there? 5th fret, 2nd string, index finger. And I'm going to follow it by the 3rd finger on the 1st string. And that's going to be a unison because of the way this is tuned now. Hear that? If you're in tune, it'll be a unison. If you're out of tune, it might be not quite a unison. So get in tune. And I'm going to finger exchange it. And I'm going to pull my 3rd finger away to get an open A at the bottom of this pattern. Because I'm going to use my index finger to jump to the 3rd string at the end of the pattern so that we get 2 different types of unisons. We're getting unisons both on an E natural, which is at this fret and that fret. Oh, that is cool. Now, if you did that on the piano, it would sound like, you know, it would be you'd be hitting the same key. On the guitar, it's so cool because you can get a little different timbre, and it almost sounds like the vowel sound of a singer changing the vowel sound of their note. So here we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to play the open bass notes with that. And then we're going to repeat it with the bass note moving up to the 2nd fret. I'm going to do it again from the beginning at the open fret, and let's see if you can play the pattern again with me as it moves to the E at the 2nd fret. Here we go. And this time I used my index finger to pull off on the 2nd string. So let's try to break this down one more time real slow. The basic pattern is so cool, those unisons. And then it repeats. I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to slow this down. So the second half of the phrase is, let's see. So when it goes to the E, our lead-off note is actually in our third finger. And then there's a slide. And this is where a lot of these notes start to cascade over each other again. I'm going to play this again, and you'll start to hear it. That's the complete phrase. I'm going to slow it down. And this lower pattern is that's a neat cascade effect, isn't it? So index on second, pinky on first, and then you pull off each of the notes one at a time. So it's just second string index, second fret. Pinky, first string, fifth fret. So we get that clash, tight, really tight harmony. From the top of the bridge. And all these melody notes are now on the third string. And we're just walking up that scale. There it is. Now this last time, I'm going to twist your ear. And on this cascade, I'm going to replace the second fret bass note with the first fret bass note, and I got to be really careful that I don't hit both strings in the bass. I have been throughout the piece, but at this point now, I want to hear this. That little harmony. It's very odd. It'll twist your ear a little bit. There's that bass note. Stay on the third string on those scale notes. Hang on to that one up there. All third string bass notes. Give it a little vibrato, and then we're back to the top. And you already know this. And we've covered, actually, at this point, we've covered every section of Hold On to Forever. Keep playing it. Walk it up. We'll see you next time at Learning from the Masters Music Outreach.